So welcome back guys to my channel, and it's over. Today was the day when a game was decided. So the game is tied, but this is the 14th round of the World Chess Championship 2024, and it is currently tied, but it's all over right now. Somebody won the final game. So Ding Liren is white and Gukesh Dommaraju is black. Let's see how the game proceeded. I'm also gonna cover the other games that I haven't covered, but I'm gonna start with the most recent one. So Ding opens with the knight opening, knight f3. Gukesh takes the center with d5, and Ding is about to put this bishop here, and this bishop is gonna become a dragon on this diagonal. It's gonna become a menace. Let's see what Gukesh is gonna do. Gukesh is gonna take more of the center with c5, and Ding is gonna put that dragon bishop right there. He develops a knight, Gukesh, and Ding strikes with the center, and Gukesh just makes the center more solid, but that bishop is a little bit stuck, but it's a solid choice. And Ding decides to castle. He takes, and he goes there. Now, right now, everything is balanced. Like, everything is balanced, nothing crazy. He attacks. If the king is still in the center, you want to try to open up lines with c4. He takes a knight, he takes, and he attacks the queen. The queen has to go back, and he pushes the pawn. He attacks the pawn, trying to open up lines. The king is still stuck in the center of the board. And the bishop goes there. He takes, and the knight develops to c3. He decides to castle because he doesn't you don't want to get stuck in the middle of the war zone, even though the king is supposed, to lead by example, but the king, he attacks the bishop. The bishop goes back, and he just he's preparing to fianchetto this bishop there, and it's gonna be another dragon. So Ding is gonna have two dragons working for him. Let's see if they're gonna help him out or not. And Gukesh attacks the knight. That knight is a little bit annoying. It's into enemy territory, and you just wanna kick the knight out. The knight goes back. Then he goes there, attacking the knight and pinning it. You can't move without losing the rook. So the bishop goes unpinning. So maybe you can even move your knight to trade that bishop. And Gukesh simply pushes the pawn to overprotect that bishop. The queen goes right there. Now, even though the queen is a little bit undefended, there is no good way to move the bishop. There are no tactics yet. He just develops the bishop, and he develops a knight. He attacks with pawn b5. He takes, and he goes with the knight right there. He takes a knight. Okay. So let's see what happened here. He went there, and he went there. And Ding played knight right there. Now the knight can be taken with a pawn, but even though the knight can be taken with a pawn, there are some tactics because of this diagonal right here. So that's why he can play this move, this crazy move, because he could have even gone right there, and that would have been safer. But he played a little bit of a fancy move. He takes, and he probably gonna take right there the knight. Yes, he did. He takes, and the rook moves. And right now, material is all equal. So everything is equal right now. He goes back, he takes, and he pushes the pawn to b4. And so Ding takes more space with a4. He takes en passant. he also takes back. And he makes room for the king so that there are no more back rank ideas. He wants to trade the queens. He says no. He pushes the pawn. He takes, and he wants to trade the rooks. So he takes, and he pushes the pawn. Now, as you can tell, it's 0-0. Black is a little bit better just because of the extra pawn. But this should be a draw. He wants to trade the bishop. He says no. He goes right there, and he goes right there. The rook infiltrates on the 7th rank. The bishop goes back, and the rook goes right there. He checks, and the king dodges the check. Rook goes right there, the rook goes right there, and he starts expanding on the king side with h5, and the rook goes there. And the rook attacks the bishop goes back home, and the king is getting a little bit active, and the other king goes back to g1. Gukesh is trying here because he's the only one that can try with the extra material. So he goes back and he attacks. He goes right there, he takes, and he goes right there. The bishop goes right there, and the king goes right there. He checks, the king goes right there, and the other king tries to get more active. He checks him out, he goes back, and he goes back again. And the bishop moves 1 square forward to the e5, e6 square, and the rook goes right there. As you can see, it's a draw, except it is not a draw. So apparently, he should never have traded the rook, because he probably thought, he goes right there, trade. Even though you're up a pawn, you can trade one of the pawns with the other pawn and sack your bishop for the other one. That's probably what he thought. But after taking, he realized his mistake. He didn't realize that he should never have traded the rooks, because that's what Gukesh is gonna trade off those bishops, and once he takes, it's pretty much all over. Like, the black king has the opposition, and he decided to quit. So one sample line is, I believe you can try to even like go back. You can try to go back. And I believe, what is the best way here? I believe you can even do this. Oh no, that's bad. That's why I believe you can go there first. Oh wow, maybe you're gonna try to triangulate. Okay, I think maybe you can corner the king out, and then he goes there, and then maybe you go there, he goes there, and you go there. I guess maybe, let's say he goes there, you go there, and maybe he goes there, and you go there, and you take. Yeah, you gotta shoulder the king. Yeah, and so yeah, you don't push that. That's a little too haste. So, and that's the reason why Ding decided to resign right here. He knew that Gukesh was just gonna move the king, move the king and push this other king into the corner, win this pawn, and then push, and it's gonna be all over. So this was the final game. Yeah, that's the final game. Now I'm also just gonna go over the other 2 games that I never got to cover. I might just make a separate video, but yeah, it's fine. So I believe this was game number 12. And Ding is white again. So he opens with c4. So you can this is the reason why I think Ding went for the same opening in the other game, or in the most recent one. He wants to make this Caroline bishop, it's gonna be a dragon. So this is one of Ding's favorite classic openings. Gukesh goes there, he takes, and then he pushes. And he decides to castle. He goes right there, attacking the pawn. And Ding decides to push. He develops the bishop. He solidifies the center. And he takes, and he pushes the e5 pawn. The knight develops. He decides to castle. He goes rook right there, e1. He just makes some room for the king, back wings, and also covering this so that you don't get any pins. But there are no pins right now. But that's the idea. And Ding decides to play a3. He plays a5 so that he doesn't have any, any ideas. And then he plays h2. He goes right there with bishop e5, e6, I'm sorry. The king goes to h2. The rook goes right there. I guess the rook went here because he didn't want any weird tactics. That pawn, if that pawn moved, then that knight is a little bit loose. They are on the same file, same diagonal. So he decides to move and sidestep. The bishop was there, pinning the pawn to the queen. The rook goes defending. The knight goes back, and the queen goes to d2. The bishop drops back to g6, and he decides to push. Gukesh also pushes. The knight goes back, and the other knight goes right there. Now, as you can tell, white is a little bit better. And the reason is, I believe it's because of all the space that white has. Like, everybody has pretty much nothing has been traded. Literally nothing has been traded. No pawns have been traded. No pieces have been traded. Everything is still there. But white is a little bit better because he has more space. The queen goes right there, the bishop goes right there, and the queen drops back. He goes right there, and he develops the knight. Now, Gukesh is trying to trade. Whenever you are cramped, you always want to trade so that you can have more room to move. The knight goes there. And finally, the first trade happened. He takes. He goes right there. The queen centralizes to c3. The knight goes back. He pushes. As you can tell, black is getting squished. They're getting squished, like a boa constrictor, That's what Ding is. He's like squeezing Gukesh now. The queen goes right there. And he decides to take more space, squeezing Gukesh even more. And Gukesh has to take a little bit more space. He didn't want to trade. If he took, the knight would have been taken, attacking these two pieces, So I decided to push. But the knight goes in anyways. The rook goes out and decides to take. And the other knight goes right there. He goes back after taking the pawn. And Gukesh is just moving pieces, but he doesn't have too many active ideas. He's squeezed out. He takes. He goes back. And the queen also takes. The other rook goes into the open file, and then he goes back. The knight goes right there, and the rook infiltrates. So at this point, it's practically over, because Gukesh, just look at this, man. What is this guy doing? These guys are, and also this rook, I guess it's protecting that. But meanwhile, look at these, protecting these passed pawns like 2 squares away. So not only does white have more space, like these passed pawns are looking crazy dangerous. And also black is really, really passive. So that's the reason why the evaluation is like +4, +5. Gukesh is trying to get some activity, because if he doesn't, he's literally going to get squeezed. Literally squeezed out. So he's trying to get something up. And he decides to attack the queen. So apparently here he could have taken. And, and then he takes back. He goes right there. And you cannot take back because I take with check. And he could also just went there straight, after you take, you queen with check, and then you take back. It's all winning. So every move is winning. So Ding just decides to go back, and he sets up some discoveries. Gukesh literally has no moves, so he just played that. And Ding sacrifices the rook, and in that position, Gukesh simply resigned the game because there's not really too much that I can do. If you take, I can even check you. If you just go there, I can even queen. You take. You gotta go somewhere. I don't know, maybe you go there. I can even take. The bishop is hanging, and I guess you can somehow try to defend it, but it's kinda lost. I'm gonna try to go there. And I believe there are a few winning ideas. You can even, yeah, I believe, can you trade? I don't know if it's best to trade, but you can even just go for mate, and I don't know what white's supposed to do, You can't even go there because that's mate. I mean, you're like, your king is weak, so I decided to just, resign. So that was game number 12. Now, game number 11. Let me see. Game number 11. Yeah, game number 11. So this is game number 11 between Gukesh and Ding Liren. So let's see how it played out. He developed the knight, he took the center, and then he played c5. Ding played d4. He takes more space with b4. He attacks the center and he solidifies the center with e3. The knight goes right there, and he plays a3. The other bishop goes, pinning that knight. He takes, and attacks the bishop. The bishop takes, and the queen also takes. Now, I want you to look at Ding's time. Ding is like 51. Like, he's like an hour down. The position is equal, but he's like an hour down. So Gukesh decides to play d4. d3, I'm sorry. And Gukesh decides to attack. He decides to push. Your king is in the center. You don't want to open up lines, so he decides to push. The knight goes right there. And he's about to finish the bishop. Okay. So the other knight goes right there, attacking the pawn. But the pawn is like defended. So he just goes ahead and fianchettos the bishop. And the other knight goes back. He decides to castle. The knight attacks the queen. The queen has to move. He was being attacked. And the other rook just defends the pawn. So if he didn't do that, then he was just gonna, I believe he didn't want the queen to take. And if you take, these are gonna start going up the board. So he decided to defend it. And Ding also decided to defend. So you can't really take, because I'm gonna take and I'm gonna take. You cannot take back. So that's what's going on. Now Ding's he's trying to castle. Well, not really. I mean, his king is still in the center. He attacks the queen first, the Gukesh, and the queen goes right there. The bishop goes to a3, pinning the queen, and Ding is like, if you're gonna attack my queen, I'm also gonna attack your queen. He takes, he goes right there, and the knight goes back. Now look, they both have like around 20 minutes, but Ding was like, let's see, what move was it? Like, he was down an hour at some point, like here, but then Gukesh also spent an hour. So now they're kinda even. So this is the position we got. The knight goes right there. And Ding is getting into a little bit of a defensive mode. I believe, yeah, the computer wanted him to try to be a little bit more, active, but active, passive, aggressive, and a little bit in another way. So he decides to take, and the queen gets attacked. The queen moves, the rook is centralized on the b5 square, and he decides to castle. I mean, why not, you know? So it's 0-0. The knight goes right there, and the rook goes defending passively. That is not what the computer wanted. So he decided to go with the knight right there. And e6 is not the biggest mistake, but it is a mistake. The knight goes in, the rook moves out, and the other rook goes in, and the queen goes back. Now that was a blunder. That was a blunder. You know, even queen here is a little bit, I believe, I don't know if the queen there is fine, but that's a blunder. Because there are tactics in the back rank, you know. And you can even feel free to pause the video. But the move played was queen takes knight. It doesn't matter which piece you take with. If you take with your pawn, I win, but I take the rook and then the queen. And I'm gonna be up material. If you take with the queen, I'm gonna take with the bishop. You cannot take back, your rook is pinned. So these are the games, the most recent games that we played. And Ding was under some time pressure, and because of that, he made some mistakes, and it cost him the game. Unfortunately, it cost him the game. And Gukesh is world champion after winning the first game. He's now world champion after winning this game. He is not the world champion. This was game number 14. The game was drawn up until this point. Like, the game was a dead draw. I believe, like, you can move your rook. You can even... What did Gukesh do? He just went there. Yeah. And then he went there. And then Gukesh went there. I believe you can even go... You can even go right here, I believe. Yeah. You can even go back. And I don't know what Gukesh was gonna try to do. Maybe you can even try to trade, because I'm gonna pin you, and now you're gonna have to go right there. And apparently this is a draw. I guess you don't get any opposition. So the point is, you could have tried to make any other move. Plus, you don't also gotta take. You can also just, you know, try to move your king. And if he tries to go active, you can maybe take. And take. And also, I don't think you gotta take. Maybe just, you know, just keep checking him or something. If he goes here, you just check him. Okay, that's right. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. So maybe like in this position or whatever, you know. So just be mindful. I think you can you take it though? Yeah, no, it's because of that weird opposition, yeah. So you just wanna keep at least the rooks, you know, to keep some chance alive. But those are the games that were played, and Gukesh is now the youngest world champion at age 18. He's the 18th world champion. Okay. Yeah, congratulations to India on winning, you know. I guess it was kind of sad for Ding to make that one move blunder, especially since he had like 10 minutes. Was he getting increment? I don't know if he was getting increment. I don't know if there were increments. Let's go back. It's kind of hard to tell if there were increments, but I believe there were some increments. But those are the games, you know. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and you guys have a nice day. Okay.